Edge Technology. Okay, this is the instruction booklet for the next item up for bid on The Price is Right. This is the owner's manual for the tailstock alignment bar by Edge Technology, which we have right here. Okay? And it's funny, the guy I bought this from said the reason why he bought this was because he watches A-Bomb. He watches Adam Booth's YouTube page and saw that Adam got one of these and was trying it out, testing it out. I got a feeling that Adam probably got his sent to him for free, and that way he could make a video, and in exchange for getting it for free, he could talk about how well it worked. So basically, you've got a precision ground center on each side of this thing, and what you do is you stick this in between a dead center in your headstock and a dead center in your, I guess it doesn't have to be a dead center, and a center in your tailstock. Okay, then you put an indicator on your carriage, on your tool post, and you run your carriage along this bar and check for any deviation. If it, if as you go down one end, if the indicator starts to change in a linear or non-linear, I don't know, if it just, basically, you're looking to see whether or not your tailstock is aligned with your headstock. That's all this is. You can make one of these easy enough, but if you want one with really superior accuracy, precision ground ends, a precision ground surface, then you want to buy one. And they can be a little pricey. I don't know how much this cost. This isn't a huge, super expensive one. They got a website. Let's see, a 27-000. Yeah, so this is still available right on their website, and it's only $50 brand new. So it's an inexpensive, I tell you what, since it's that cheap, I would say that that's probably a pretty good value. You think about making one of these for yourself and not being able to approach the accuracy of this unless you have grinding equipment. Why the hell not just buy one, right? So, anyways, it's it's $50 new. What am I going to get for this used? 20, 25 bucks? So probably just going to keep it, use it on my lathes instead of making one. Last item in the box before we get to the final 3 items. Look at that. A sweet little Criterion boring head. This is an S-1.5. So this is 1.5 inch little Criterion boring head. I just sold one similar to these, but a little bit larger. This one I'm probably going to keep because I don't think I have one this small. It's got a straight shank, more than likely. Well, actually, what the hell's holding that in there? I'm sorry. Nope, that's threaded. There's no shank on this. This is the shank somebody made. So this is threaded on here. Yep, there we go. That just threads on. So I could put this on a different shank. I'll probably just leave it on this one. Well, this is kind of big and cumbersome and extent. Well, for now I'm going to leave it on that one there, but I'm going to keep that for myself, I'm pretty sure. But that's in excellent condition. This was also over on that tool rack with the tooling. And I was like, yeah, there's no reason to not take that. Gave me a really good price on it, too. I don't remember how much it was. And again, it was added into that total at the end. But I'm happy about that. All right, last 3 items. Yep. 5C Call It Spin Indexer. It's actually in excellent shape. Look at this. So, again, using his Creality branded 3D printer, he made this plastic gear. And I forgot exactly what he told me he was doing with this at the time that made him want to do this, but he wanted the ability to be able to drive this with a small motor. So, anyways, that being said, this gear is, I believe he told me this gear is press fit on here. I'm hoping he didn't Loctite it on there or anything like that. But I definitely want to get this off because I'm sure that there isn't going to be anyone who wants a gear drive on their 5C spin indexer. As far as the indexer itself goes, I find no markings or names on it whatsoever, which would indicate to me it is a Chinese import. I just had one of these that I just sold. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to ship it today. So it's a handy thing, and it's not very expensive to buy one of these. You know, you can buy like a Phase 2, I think, brand new for around 90 bucks. And this is pretty much comparable with the, you know, on par with the Phase 2 quality. I might have to rig up a puller and try and pull that off. Yeah, so that spin indexer, I think I ended up giving 25 bucks for, and actually it was 50 bucks for the spin indexer and this cream puff, which this is actually pretty nice. This is a UESA. I don't know if you can see that label or not. It's pretty damaged, but this is an old UESA 5C collet fixture, but I think they call this a 5C VH, and the VH stands for vertical horizontal. Here's how it's supposed to work as far as being a vertical horizontal. So this would be horizontal. What you've got is a 5C collet nose on here. Oh, by the way, this, what you're looking at here, this is another 3D printed item he made, which is a great idea. It's a spindle nose protector, thread protector. All right, which is a great thing to have whenever you're, like, if you've got your chuck off of your lathe and or any of these fixtures and you want to protect those threads from getting whacked. So that's kind of a neat idea. But anyways, this would be the horizontal, and then by design, what you're supposed to be able to do is, this is a flat machine surface right here. So what you do is you can flip this whole thing up like that. Voila, we are now vertical. Pardon me. The reason why I say this is how it's supposed to work is because there is a problem. Someone has removed a section of this casting. Now, there's a couple of possibilities here. It could be that somebody purposely had a reason why they needed to have clearance, so they removed it, or they just the casting got accidentally busted off. This looks like it's been ground almost, but maybe not. I think maybe that's from the factory, and I think that this is just plain old busted off. So someone did an oopsie and broke that. So the problem with this in a vertical orientation is you can get a, you could still put a through bolt, a stud, up through here and put the nut on here and clamp this side, but you're going to have a problem where it's going to want to twist like this because you have no way to clamp this side. Now, that being said, a smart fella could very easily put a toe clamp on this little ridge that's left right here and probably get enough clamping pressure on there to still do what you need to do with this thing. So anyways, so this is actually a nice nice tool to have. If I didn't already have one of these, I would definitely keep this one for myself. I actually have a UESA. That's the same one that I have. At one point, I had one that looked very much like a Hardinge. Hardinge makes one of these, and that's probably considered one of the best ones. And typically, it's the most expensive one. So, what does this do that the spin indexer doesn't do? Well, for one thing, it's got a quick release collet closer. All right, so you can see it's got the adjustment knob on the back here, so we can put a collet in there, dial it up to where it's pretty close, flip this lever over, and it will close. It'll lock that piece of stock in the collet. There is a disc back here with a series of holes in it, and the holes have little grub screws in them, so you can remove the grub screws from the holes that you need to. And it also has a graduations right here. Somebody actually took the time to take a Sharpie and literally mark out the degrees with a Sharpie or something so that you could see them a lot better because they were getting hard to see, I guess. So the way this works is, what you've got is you've got this spring-loaded locking lever right here, okay? And right now that's locked, it doesn't move. But if I pull the locking lever over and hold it, I can pull up on this, then release the locking lever, and this will rotate over until the pin hits the next open hole. And of course the next open hole is going to depend on whether or not that grub screw little doohickeys in there. So you see now it just went to the next one. See? Locked again, okay? Okay, you get the gist of it, right? So you can pretty much do what the spin indexer does, but you can do it quicker because you don't have to worry about pulling that pin out and making sure that pin's in the right hole on each time you rotate it a little bit. This kind of does it more automatically. And then because it's got this chucker handle on it, you can take stuff in and out of this easier. So this is better for production work. You know, small part runs, stuff like that. So anyways, this is a pretty, you know, valuable extra shop fixture for most guys who still run manual equipment. You know, it's a step up from the spin indexer that I just showed. Again, this one, it's hurt by the fact that it's got this broken ear, but it's still well worth the money I paid for it. And this is a 5C. So it takes standard 5C collets. So that's a honey for the money. Now we're on to we're going to get to the final item, which I actually got for free. So I go over in the corner of this area we were in, and there was a bunch of stuff piled up on the floor, and I spot this thing laying there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all right, what the hell's this thing? So then the guy comes over and he starts talking to me about it, and he says, yeah, you got it out of a shop where they did a lot of grinding work, I think, and he didn't know what the hell it was. And of course I see, oh, well, wait a minute. Federal. Versatility Dimensional Measurement. Okay. I'm like, that's interesting. Now we're on to something here. This looks like it might be something for metrology or inspection work, right? It's got a couple of handles on here that should look familiar. And I went through this little exercise before where I was able to look up the manufacturer on these handles. These are actually like KNAPP, K-N-A-P-P, or I forgot what the heck they are, but there's a name on this handle right here. And I bought, a while back, I bought a metal brake, a small one, that had these handles on it. And I couldn't find any markings from the manufacturer, but I saw this logo and this triangle and the name. Looked it up online, come to find out it's a well-known German company that makes, yeah, you guessed it, these handles. So this just happens to use that same brand of German handle, okay? But looking at this thing, you know, trying to figure it out, ended up figuring out that there must be a way that you mount an indicator on here, and that the point of the indicator sits on this little point right here. On the back, there is clearly a federal part number. This is a model 36B-10. While I was there on site, so I'm looking at this thing and I'm intrigued by it, and I'm telling him how I'm a sucker for old kind of junk like this. And before I can even ask him what he wants for it, he says, oh, you can have that. So he gave me that for free. Now, it didn't hurt that by this point I already shelled out probably north of $300. So he was happy that I was there. Anyways, end result, got home, looked this up. Turns out these were crazy expensive back in the day. And what this actually is this is a piece of inspection equipment. And the way it's supposed to work is, there were two versions of these. There was a version that had the plus tracks. You see how this has tracks in a plus shape? And then there was another one that had tracks in a Y shape, where you had this coming down and you had one going up at an angle, one going up at an angle. Now the one that was made in a Y shape gave you 3 points equidistant to each other. And that was definitely for measuring the ID of something. So what you would do is you would set these things and this probably with a master ring, okay? And then you would have a dial indicator on here. See how this is moving? This is spring loaded, right? There's a way to increase or release the tension by turning this knob on the back here. Right? So if I turn this knob, you can actually see that's moving out. That's putting more tension on this. And then you've got this right here, this handle deal, right? So it looks like what you do is you get these close to where it's supposed to be set. You put your master ring on there, pull this down so that this is pushed up against the inside of the ring, and your indicator is going to show something at this point. You zero your indicator, right? Then you release this, you take your master ring off, you put your test part on there, pull down, take an inch measurement, right? So the only thing I'm not sure of is exactly what shapes you're supposed to be able to measure with this thing, because these two things right here, they can be moved, but you have to loosen these screws to move them, and then they're pretty much fixed. This is the only one that really moves. So the question is, can you turn these around maybe? You know, in other words, so that the points are facing inside. Then you could do, I guess you could do ODs. So I'm not exactly sure how this works, but I'm looking at this, the way this is made. We've got a slotted hole, okay, and it occurs to me that, see these indicators? I found a bunch of these indicators, right? These federal indicators with this kind of back on them. I think the reason why this has this kind of back is because I bet you that fits right on there like that. This one's got definitely a longer travel to it. Yeah, that's probably more how it's supposed to work. And then it makes sense, like if you had an indicator like this style with this split bezel on it that allows you to have the upper and lower limits, that could be your, you know, your max minus and max plus. And then that way when you're testing parts, you've got a little bit of variation from part to part, but as long as they fall within those two, where you get those two red lines set, you could say that's your go versus no go. So kind of a neat thing, huh? The prices on these on eBay are all over the place. There's not a lot of them out there. There's a few out there that they're asking really big money for. Right now I think there's only one active one. I honestly don't remember, but I want to say I think there's one on there now somebody's asking like $300 for, and I think it doesn't even look as good as this one condition wise. This one actually doesn't look too bad. There's some damage right here on the table, but maybe I'll be able to find something online to explain better how to actually use this thing. But I just thought you guys might find that interesting. I sure as hell did. So another blast from metrology past, brought to us by the Federal Corporation, which is now MAHR Federal, M-A-H-R Federal. Headquarters still in Rhode Island, but I'm sure that I don't know what they're making down there these days, if they're actually doing any production at that facility or not. All right, so that's going to wrap up this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed going through all this stuff. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. And if you like this video and these kind of videos, please hit the like button. Take care.